It's almost midnight. The kitchen lights are still on. In a quiet house, someone stands at the sink, washing a single mug they could have left for the morning. The bed is made. The laundry is folded. Still, they keep going. It's not that the house is dirty, but a quiet, persistent voice inside tells them, not yet. For many people, sleep isn't just about darkness or a comfortable bed. It depends on the state of the room. They can't fall asleep until the floor is clear, the counters are wiped, and everything is in its place. Others might see this as discipline or a quirk, but for the person doing it, it feels necessary. In this episode, we'll take a closer look at this nightly ritual, not to judge or romanticize it, but to understand it. Underneath the simple act of tidying before bed is a mix of neuroscience, developmental psychology, behavioral science, and the basic human need to feel safe at home. The psychology of people who can't sleep unless their home is perfectly clean isn't about obsession. It's about the brain doing what it's meant to do. Key takeaway: if you find yourself needing to clean before sleep, science supports that this is a rational, nervous system-driven response linked to comfort and stress reduction. Part 1. The brain in a cluttered room. To see why a messy room can keep someone awake, we first need to look at what clutter really does to the brain, not just in theory, but in how it actually works. In 2011, neuroscientists Stephanie McMains and Sabine Kastner at Princeton Neuroscience Institute published a landmark study in the Journal of Neuroscience. Using functional MRI, they tracked activity in the visual cortex as the brain simultaneously attended to multiple competing objects. Their findings were clear. When there are many things in your visual field at once, they compete for your brain's attention by suppressing each other's activity. Simply put, when there's too much in front of you, your neurons compete for your focus. Professor Kastner explained it this way: whatever you look for dominates your brain signals so much that all of the scene context gets suppressed. The key point is that the brain isn't very good at blocking out clutter. Even when someone tries to ignore an extra object, brain scans show it's still being processed in the background. Every item you don't pay attention to still takes up mental energy. This explains why a cluttered room really does make it harder to think. It's not about willpower, it's because your visual cortex is working overtime. When the lights go out and you try to sleep, your brain doesn't just stop processing. The leftover visual information can keep your mind active long after you close your eyes. For many, cleaning before bed isn't about appearances. It's a way to help the brain wind down. Part 2. The cortisol connection. If Princeton showed us what clutter does to attention, the University of California, Los Angeles showed us what it does to the body. Between 2001 and 2009, UCLA's Center on Everyday Lives of Families followed 32 dual-income families through their daily lives, collecting saliva samples to measure cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Two psychologists on the team, Dr. Darby Saxby and Professor Rena Rapetti, analyzed the language families used to describe their homes, sorting words into restorative, calm, peaceful, restful, and stressful, cluttered, unfinished, disorganized. Their 2010 paper, published in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin, found that women who described their homes in stressful terms showed flatter diurnal cortisol slopes, a hormonal pattern associated with chronic stress, depression, and poorer long-term health. Women whose language was restorative showed a healthier, steeper slope in their well-regulated stress system. These results held even after controlling for personality and relationship satisfaction. The data shows something important. The way we talk about our homes matches what's happening in our bodies. For many, a messy home isn't just about looks. It acts like a constant, low-level alarm in the body. When someone says they can't sleep until the kitchen is clean, it might be because their nervous system won't relax while stress hormones are high. Part 3. Cognitive load and the tired mind. In the 1980s, Australian psychologist John Sweller introduced cognitive load theory, now one of the foundational concepts in cognitive science. Sweller observed that working memory is a small, limited resource. It can hold information for roughly 20 seconds and process only 2 to 4 chunks at a time. Every object in a room is a bit of information your brain has to keep track of, even if you're not thinking about it. A pile of mail, a basket of laundry, a stack of dishes, each one takes up some of your attention. When the whole house is like this, you can end up feeling drained without knowing why. Key takeaway: unfinished tasks in the bedroom can overload the mind and disrupt sleep. Tidying before sleep relieves this cognitive load. Part 4. What the sleep research actually says. The link between the bedroom environment and sleep quality is no longer speculative. In 2011, the National Sleep Foundation surveyed 1,500 American adults and found that comfort and cleanliness were overwhelmingly identified as fundamental to good sleep. Only about 42% of respondents described themselves as great sleepers. More direct evidence came from Drive Pamela Thatcher at St. Lawrence University, who, in a 2015 study, found that people at higher risk for hoarding disorder reported significantly poorer sleep quality and greater sleep disturbance. Thatcher explained the mechanism plainly. Poor sleep compromises executive function, and reduced executive function makes it harder to manage clutter, creating a cycle that is difficult to break without intervention. In a 2017 follow-up, Thatcher's team found that tidying the bedroom may serve as a legitimate clinical intervention for sleep, a recommendation rarely made by sleep clinicians but supported by the data. A 2022 analysis of more than 20,000 participants in the Brain Health Registry confirmed the pattern. Clutter and disrupted sleep reinforce one another in a self-sustaining feedback loop. The messier the room, the worse the sleep. The worse the sleep, the less capacity to address the mess. Key takeaway: cleaning before bed offers a practical way for people to break the cycle between mess and poor sleep, supporting better rest. Part 5. Locus of control. To understand why some people feel compelled to clean before sleep with an intensity that borders on the existential, we need to revisit one of the most influential concepts in personality psychology: locus of control. In 1966, Julian Rotter proposed that people differ fundamentally in the degree to which they believe their outcomes are governed by their own behavior, an internal locus of control, versus by luck, fate, or forces beyond them, an external locus of control. Those with a strong internal locus tend to be more persistent, more proactive, and more resilient under stress. For people who find much of life unpredictable, home is one of the few places where effort leads to a clear result. If you wipe the counter, it's clean. There's no uncertainty or waiting. Cleaning is a straightforward way to feel in control, a place where your actions have a direct outcome. People with stressful or unpredictable jobs often feel the strongest urge to clean before bed. Surgeons, teachers, parents of young kids, and caregivers, those whose days are full of things they can't control, often focus on cleaning at home. The home becomes the one place where they are clearly in charge. Key takeaway: for many, cleaning before bed is a powerful way to reclaim a sense of control after a day of uncertainty, reinforcing a feeling of agency. Part 7. Identity and the self we vote for. Not every nightly cleaner is wrestling with unresolved history. For many, cleaning has become something quieter, a piece of who they are. James Clear, in his 2018 book Atomic Habits, describes what he calls identity-based habits. Lasting behavior change, he argues, rarely comes from goals. It comes from identity. Every action you take, Clear writes, is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. The word identity derives from the Latin identitem, meaning repeatedly. In his framing, your identity is your repeated beingness. Each small act of tidiness is a quiet, daily declaration of selfhood. This puts nightly cleaning in a kinder perspective. For many, wiping the stove before bed isn't just about avoiding chaos. It's a way to care for themselves and reinforce who they want to be. It's a small, daily choice that shapes their identity. It also explains why the ritual is hard to break. Skipping the cleaning isn't just leaving a task unfinished. It feels like going against the identity someone has chosen. That can feel much harder than it looks from the outside. Emotional regulation and dopamine. There is one more function of nightly cleaning that is rarely spoken about directly. It works. It genuinely changes how a person feels. And the reason lies in the brain's reward chemistry. In clinical psychology, behavioral activation, developed by Neil Jacobson and colleagues in the 1990s, is one of the most well-evidenced treatments for depression. Its core insight is counterintuitive. Rather than waiting to feel motivated before acting, structured activity itself can produce the positive emotional state. Reviews have found behavioral activation comparable in effectiveness to traditional cognitive behavioral therapy. Therapists routinely include household tasks in these plans: cleaning, organizing, laundry, precisely because they offer something rare in low-mood states: a clear beginning, a clear end, and a visible result. That's why cleaning can feel so soothing. In a world with lots of problems that don't have easy answers, the kitchen sink is something you can fix. Dishes go from dirty to clean. The floor goes from messy to tidy. The neurochemistry reinforces this. Dopamine, more accurately described as the brain's signal of valuable action than its pleasure chemical, fires in the midbrain whenever a reward is detected or anticipated. Cleaning, structurally, is one of the most dopamine-friendly activities available. It comes in small, discrete steps, each producing an immediate visible change. Every completed step delivers a miniature reward signal, and the moment the task is fully done, the brain's prediction error system delivers a final, satisfying spike of dopamine. Work projects can take months, relationships can take years, but cleaning the kitchen takes just 20 minutes. For a brain that's gone all day without clear results, cleaning before bed is a quick and satisfying reward. Part 6. When the origin is in childhood, for some people, this need to control physical space is not a personality preference. It is the long echo of a childhood spent in unexpected environments. Key takeaway: for those shaped by unpredictable childhood environments, tidying offers comfort, protection, and a felt sense of safety. A 2015 study of more than 22,000 Swedish twins found that childhood abuse and family disruption were particularly associated with later obsessive-compulsive symptoms. Subsequent research confirmed that emotional neglect in childhood significantly predicted earlier onset and greater severity of OCD symptoms in adulthood. This shows that compulsive cleaning in adults isn't always just a random habit. For some, it's a coping strategy learned early in life and held on to for years. The amygdala, the brain's threat detector, is still following old patterns from childhood. Mess means danger. Clean means safe. The adult who cannot sleep until every surface is clear may in some sense still be the child who learned that controlling the room was the only form of self-care available. Part 9. Where the line lies: habit versus OCD. At this point, a careful distinction is essential. Preferring a clean home and sleeping better in an ordered room is not obsessive-compulsive disorder. OCD is a specific clinical condition defined in the DSM-5 by obsessions and compulsions that are time-consuming, typically more than an hour per day, and that cause significant distress or impairment. Contamination-related cleaning compulsions account for roughly 45 to 60% of clinical OCD presentations. The critical difference is in how the cleaning feels. The key difference is how the cleaning feels. For most people, tidying up at night brings relief, a sense of completion and rest. In clinical OCD, cleaning doesn't bring real relief. Instead, there's only a brief pause before doubt comes back. The person may not trust that the job is done, and the urge to clean keeps growing. Nags you to a stopping point. It is functioning as a habit. If the stopping point never comes, if the relief is always just one more wipe away, that is worth discussing with a clinician. Exposure and response prevention therapy, the gold standard treatment for OCD, shows significant improvement in 50 to 70% of patients. The line is not about how much you clean. It is about whether you are free to stop. Part 10. The highly sensitive brain in closing. There is one final piece. Some people who cannot sleep in a disordered room are neither managing trauma nor expressing identity. They are simply wired differently. In the mid-1990s, psychologists Elaine and Arthur Aaron identified a trait called sensory processing sensitivity, present in an estimated 15 to 20% of the population. People with this trait process sensory input more deeply, with greater emotional reactivity and heightened awareness of subtle stimuli. A 2010 fMRI study at Stony Brook University confirmed that high-sensitivity individuals show significantly greater activation in visual processing areas when detecting environmental changes. For these people, a cluttered bedroom isn't just background noise. Every object stands out more and feels more important. The impact of mess on the mind and body is simply stronger than it is for others. If a shirt draped over a chair bothers you until it's put away, you're not overreacting. Your nervous system might just be more sensitive. If you see yourself in this story, if your nights end at the kitchen sink, or you fixed a pillow at midnight because you couldn't relax until it was straight, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not strange. Your brain has simply found a sensible way to meet its needs through a familiar routine. When you look closely, the psychology of people who can't sleep unless their home is perfectly clean is really about the brain doing what it's designed to do, looking for order, finding control, finishing mental tasks, and making it possible to rest safely. What the research invites us to do is not to abandon the ritual. The research doesn't tell us to give up the ritual, but to look at it with curiosity. Ask yourself if your cleaning helps you end the day or keeps it going. Does it make you feel free or trapped? Is the room you're tidying for an adult at rest or for a child still seeking safety? It appears to be a small act of care, a quiet conversation with the self, a way of telling the body it is now allowed to rest. For some, it is a habit worth keeping exactly as it is. For others, it is a habit worth gently questioning, not to abandon, but to understand more fully. And for a few, it is a signal worth bringing to a therapist who knows the territory. The room where you sleep isn't separate from you. It helps your nervous system settle down. Every cleared counter, folded shirt, and closed drawer sends a message to your brain that it's okay to let go of the day. You're not just cleaning the house, you're helping your mind get ready for rest. Take care of your space, and it will take care of you. If you found this video helpful, if it put words to something you felt, please share it with someone who might relate. And if this sounds like you, let me know in the comments. Do you find it hard to sleep in a messy room? I'd really like to hear your story. Sleep well.